Well, hello. Remember us?
Mm-hmm. Guess who's back?
Guess who's back? Okay, don't get me started. Okay. um, Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning on the East Coast. Saturday evening on the East Coast. It's Saturday morning over there on the other side of the equator
Mm-hmm.
in the sunshine with Rekkr over there in New Zealand. Yes, we're back
Yep.
again, Mrs. Cassandra. Y'all can't get rid of us. Nope.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
pretty hard to get rid of.
yeah. Tell a friend, Mrs. Cassandra's got it. Like, look. She heard me. I had the tone in my voice.
Mm-hmm.
She got it. I just don't know which one of us is shady and which one of us is him.
That's a good question.
Yes, we don't have enough time in the day to answer that one. Really. No.
Nope.
So we have Dak for to continue our series on the 48 laws,
Mm-hmm.
and we are up to chapter 4, which
Yep.
which I feel personally insulted.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, but
Yes, it is saying less to say more, or always say less than necessary.
Mrs. Cassandra said the thousand accents are shady. I'm shady than in you're slim.
Mm.
Yeah. No, you're
Fair.
in. You're in. Welcome, George. Good to see you. So Joe said, hey, look at the trees. Nice to see you too. Everybody coming in from chat. It's been a while
Yeah.
since we streamed, huh? Since 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yes.
And, and
Yes.
since and I was just not to put you on the spot, but gonna put you on the spot, typical
Mm-hmm.
bear style, So we spoke about you doing the campaign for
Mm-hmm.
your archery competition for your travel
Yes.
expenses and stuff. So I thought it'd be
Mm-hmm.
nice if you gave everybody a little update on how that went, and because since we didn't stream last week because you were away. uh,
Well, it went pretty well from. Well, I consider it going pretty well for my first competition. Um, I I obviously didn't place in the individuals, which is like the main event, but
mm-hmm.
I did get third in the team event, which was fun. But that was more of a fun thing. Um, it it actually taught me a whole lot about how the indoor um shoot is, and like these people are they're good. Like
Well, you say you didn't place well in the individuals, but let's be a little bit honest, okay? You only lost by 3 points against one of the top guys, correct?
um yeah, I
Yeah,
did only
okay.
lose by about three
Mr. Hum,
points
yeah,
by the
Mr. Humble here didn't shoot
but
anything
to
less
be
than a
fair,
nine. Yeah,
that
okay,
that was no,
okay.
actually that was the thing that I was very proud of, is that I didn't shoot anything less than a 9 in the individuals.
You didn't,
um
and a lot of teens, because if you're part of the Discord, everyone, if you're a member or if you follow on Kick or on Twitch, you're in the Discord and we kept you up to date. You got a medal. You got a medal for the
mhm,
team play, which was really
I did.
nice. I mean, yeah,
Mm.
it's. I think.
And it was more of an exhibition match. So it was more like fun and games.
Mhm.
The medal was just sort of I don't know, just sort of like a bonus.
I know, but it's nice because you were with other archers. I mean, it was a long trip. It was like 6 hours, and you
Oh
stayed
yeah.
the whole weekend. Yeah, and
Mhm.
uh but there was beautiful scenery, and
Mhm.
you were saying how much you learned just by watching other archers and learning how your placement and being in the competitive environment. So all in all, it was, I think, would you say it was an excellent experience for the, I mean, you haven't competed in years and years, so
Yeah. It has
just
been quite a number of years since I competed.
yeah, so, and with everything else you got going on, you got to give yourself a good pat on the back for doing it, getting out there again. I'm really
Mhm.
proud of you. I got messages asking about it, um, how you did and all. That's why I wanted you to talk about it. Let them hear it from you.
Yep. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm already I it sort of put me back in the mode of wanting to compete more. So I'm looking at other competitions that are coming up, and there's one that's actually coming up in Auckland, so I don't have to travel 6 hours.
That'll be blessing, no extra expense, just fun, yeah, or competition.
Mm-hmm. It's an outdoor one as well, so I'd be shooting at 50 meters.
And that's longer because like the indoor is only 20, right? Like,
Yep,
is that correct? Yeah,
18. Yeah,
yeah,
18, 20 meters.
yeah. So that's a big difference then. Okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
well, congratulations. And very proud of you, all of us. We got lots of messages encouraging. So thank you, everybody. On that, like now we got to get down to the nuts and the bolts of it because, like, oh boy, this chapter. Um, I'm sorry about the commercials. Like, I have it on minimum for anybody that's coming in. I see a couple of some people like it just YouTube, whether I want it or not, they put them in there. So there you go. Even if you have it set on minimum, it should only be in the beginning. I don't think there's any during the rest. So all right. So now here we go. You ready? Shall we just start?
Mm-hmm.
How about you, everybody? Everybody that's coming in, thank you so much. It's good to see you, especially since we've been on a bit of a hiatus, I would say. Would you say that, yeah?
Yes,
From
I would
streaming,
definitely say.
besides you having the competition last week, I've had some, stuff in real life that I've had to take care of that's made it very difficult to go live because of all the
Mm-hmm.
pop-ins and the interruptions and things that are going on. But things are settling down in, just as a channel note, I do hope to get back to some regular content next week. Um, Hopefully get back to some of my true crime. But this is all about my library chats in this series. In we're only Yes, this is a weekly thing, Lucky. And
Mm-hmm.
welcome to you and George. Yeah, welcome. You're coming in. We are doing the 48 laws. We're doing a chapter a week, but we did take a break last week. That's why it will be the same time if you're on the East Coast on Eastern Standard Time, it's on Saturdays at 6 o'clock. If you're on the other side of the world, it is at 10 a.m. in the morning on Sunday. Yep. But yeah, so okay, so let's get started with our breakdown here. This chapter was called Always Say Less Than Necessary. So I
Yes.
immediately, being a chatterbox, was offended. However, the strong silent type, Mr. Rekkr over there, like he was right with it. Like he gets it. Well, basically, well, I think Robert Greene, what he basically was trying to put out is he's centering it on the strategic use of restraint and communication to project power and authority and
Yes.
mystery. And when we say that, we mean like when Robert Greene is talking about the the human dynamics of power, he means in a power structure to where you're trying to gain a goal, mostly business, high end, trying to convince people to buy something, um, with a production goal at the end, a very high end production goal, you know? So whenever we're talking about this, please keep in mind we're not talking about your personal relationships. I don't recommend using any of these laws on your boo, on your partner, on your
Yeah,
family and your
it's not a
friends.
great
Yeah.
idea.
It's not a great idea. These are for organizational structures or when you're trying to achieve, if you're trying to get a hit at work, if you are moving forward in some type of organizational structure in the gaining of power, not only just personal power, but professional power. Let's say that, like some kind of professional acclaim power. Most of them work that way. And you'll find us trying to soften the edges of it because our goal, as we said in the beginning of the series, um, is to show how these laws can be reconstructed for you to gain your personal power back. Because Rekkr and I have both talked often amongst ourselves about being out here on the platforms and how just the socials in general, how people get their power stripped away and how it's important to protect it and to gain it back, and how it happens
Absolutely.
so easily in these small groups, in different platforms and organizations, different cliques and different groups that you join. And so we thought it would be interesting, to say the least, if not a definite challenge, you know, to try to structure this book that way. But this book got a bad rep, as we've talked about before, right, Rick? I mean, they
Oh
won't
yeah,
even
absolutely.
they they removed it from many prison libraries because people were getting crazy about it. Everybody trying to one up the other. So the core principles suggest that powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less, while excessive talking makes one appear calming, out of control, and more likely to say something foolish. I kind of agree with that somewhat, but not always. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As he doesn't say anything. You read the next one.
Okay, let me just pull that up. Um, the law emphasizes that the game of power. Wait, yes, apparent appearance is everything. Power, speech, core philosophy. The law of operation. Shit.
Take
Okay,
start
my
again. Yeah.
screen, my screen is playing up. Oh,
There is a link for the presentation in the description if you want to pull it up Here, I'll just send it to you. Oh, I can't because it's
Yeah,
presenting.
I'll have to pull it up on my
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, let me pull it up on my laptop.
Yeah, because you see the link down there. It's a little bit down. It says the 48 laws presentation slides. That should bring the whole thing up. Then slide over to chapter 4, and then you'll have it on a tab. If that helps. That was a good suggestion, by the way. Thank you to my mod, Purple Dragon Shield, or Autistic Shield. She suggested that we make the presentations available off screen for people that want to follow along. So she found it very helpful. So we've been adding that down there. Well, in the meantime, I'll just let everybody know if you hear us answering to people you don't see in the chat, it's because we have 3 different chats going. Unless Rekkr also has it going on his Twitch and Kick, then there would be 5. Because we are, for my channel, platforming on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Kick. And it is free to follow on Twitch and Kick. If you have an account, I would appreciate it, as I'm building up a little bit of an audience over there to try to get us a category for some of the things that we do, especially in the true crime, and all help is appreciated. And if you do, we are on chapter 4, the second slide. The law emphasizes that in the game of power are the first words. Hold on, I'll give you the number. It is number. Oh, I can't see the number once I'm presenting. Sorry. It's in the 50s though. I can tell you that. It's way up.
It's all the slides. Okay.
You got to go up to chapter 4, and then it's the second slide after you see the chapter 4 thumbnail. Do you see?
Yep, found it.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay.
Here we go. The law and the screen comes back. Okay. Anyway, the law emphasizes that.
Well, anyway, if you want to follow me over on Twitch and Kick, you will be able to get a free membership into the Discord. There you go. All right, so go ahead.
The law emphasizes that in the game of power, appearances is everything, and silence can be more powerful than speech. Core philosophy. The law operates on several psychological principles. Mystery creates power when you reveal little. People fill in the gaps with their own assumptions, often attributing more wisdom and intelligence than you possess. Silence creates discomfort. People dislike uncertainty and will rush to fill conversational voids, often revealing their own motivations and weaknesses. Brevity suggests importance. The less you say, the more profound and mysterious your words appear. Exactly.
Especially if you're not known for saying anything, I guess, they can definitely, I guess that would be important. These are good, though, the core philosophy, but I don't think they fit in every situation. I don't know, Rick. I myself, if somebody is too quiet, I get suspicious. I can see how these could backfire on you, actually, a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, so the book goes into some examples, some historical examples, which we do enjoy, and we're going to read those to you right from the book. We're going to start with Rekkr, but if you want to follow along, those of you who are new, in the description of the YouTube video, you will find a link to the PDF. And actually, I'm going to drop it for you, all of you, just in case you can't find that down. I'm hoping, I don't know if it'll come up though. No, I don't think it shares, actually. No, it doesn't. Oh, that was dumb. I have to open it a different way. But anyway, would you like to start reading from the book there, Rekkr, for the first example?
I can do that. Okay. So we have the transgression of the law. Um, Ganes, Garnus Marcus, also known as Coriolanus, real name, was a great military hero. Damn. For a military hero, that's a terrible name. Was a great military hero of ancient Rome. In the first half of the 15th century BC, he won many important battles, saving the city from calamity time and time again, because he spent most of his time on the battlefield. Few Romans knew him personally, making him something of a legendary figure. In 454 BC, Coriolanus decided it was time to exploit his reputation and enter politics. He stood for elections to the high rank of council. He stood for election to the high rank of council. Candidates for his position traditionally made a public address early in the race, and when Coriolanus came before the people, he began by displaying the dozens of scars he had accumulated over the 17 years of fighting for Rome. Few in the crowd really heard the lengthy speech that followed. Those scars, proof of his valor and patriotism, moved the people to tears. Coriolanus' election seemed certain. When the polling day arrived, however, Coriolanus made an entry into the forum, escorted by the the entire Senate, and by the city's patricians, the 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 aristocracy. The common people who saw this were disturbed by such a blustering show of confidence on election day. And then Coriolanus spoke again, mostly addressing the wealthy citizens who had accompanied him. His words were arrogant and insolent, claiming certain victory in the vote. He boasted of his battlefield exploits, made sour jokes that appealed only to the patricians, voiced angry accusations against his opponent, and speculated on the riches he would bring to Rome. This time, the people listened, and they did not realize that this legendary soldier was also a common braggart. News of Coriolanus' second speech spread quickly through Rome, and the people turned out in great numbers to make sure he was not elected. Defeated, Coriolanus returned to the battlefield, bitter and vowing revenge on the common folk who had voted against him. Some weeks later, a larger shipment of grain arrived in Rome. The Senate was ready to distribute this food to the people for free, but just as they were preparing to vote on the question, Coriolanus appeared on the scene and took the Senate floor. The distribution, he argued, would have a harmful effect on the city as a whole. Several senators appeared won over, and the vote on the distribution fell into doubt. Coriolanus did not stop there. He went on to condemn the concept of democracy itself. He advocated getting rid of the people's representatives, the tribunes, and the turning over of the governing of the city to the patricians. When word of Coriolanus's latest speech reached the people, their anger would know no bounds. The tribunes were sent to the Senate to demand that Coriolanus appeared before them. He refused. Riot broke out all over the city. The
Of
Senate, fearing
course.
people's wrath, finally voted in favor of the grain distribution. The tribunes were appeased, but the people still demanded that Coriolanus speak to them and apologize. If he repented and agreed to keep his opinions to himself, he would be allowed to return to the battlefield. Coriolanus did appear one last time before the people, who listened to him in rapt silence. He started slowly and softly, but as the speech went on, he became more and more blunt. Yet again he hurled insults. His tone was arrogant, his expression distasteful. The more he spoke, the angrier the people became. Finally, they shouted him down and silenced him. The tribunes conferred, condemned Coriolanus to death, and ordered the magistrates to take him at once to the top of the Tarpon Rock and throw him over. The delighted crowd seconded the decision. The patricians, however, managed to intervene, and the sentence was commuted to a lifelong banishment. When the people found out that Rome's great military hero would never return to the city, they celebrated in the streets. In fact, no one had ever seen such a celebration, not even after the defeat of foreign enemy.
Oh my! Like he really annoyed them. They were gonna throw him off a cliff.
When you
They,
open your mouth too much,
damn.
doing the wrong thing.
Oh, it just when he started out okay, soft and slow, got their attention,
Mm-hmm.
and if he had just stopped there, all would be well. But nope,
Yep.
he just carried on. Damn. You doing okay? Or would you like me to do the
Mm-hmm.
interpretation?
I can do the
Hmm?
interpretation.
You go for it.
Okay. Interpretation. Before his entrance into politics, the name of Coriolanus invoked awe. His battlefield accomplishments showed him as a man of great bravery. Since the citizens knew little about him, all kinds of legends became attached to his name. The moment he appeared before the Roman citizens, however, and spoke his mind, all that grandeur and mystery vanished. He bragged and blustered like a common soldier. He insulted and slandered people as if he felt threatened and insecure. Suddenly, he was not at all what the people had imagined. The discrepancy between the legend and the reality proved immensely disappointing to those who wanted to believe in their hero. The more Coriolanus said, the less powerful he appeared. A person who cannot control his words shows that he cannot control himself, and this is unworthy of respect. Had Coriolanus said less, the people would never have cause to be offended by him, would never have known his true feelings. He would have maintained his powerful aura, what certainly would have certainly been elected consult, and would have been able to accomplish his anti-democratic goals.
Hmm.
But the human tongue is a beast that few can master. It strains constantly to break out of its cage, and if it is not tamed, it will run wild and cause you grief. Power cannot occur to those who squander their treasure of words.
Mm. Well, I did like the quote here from Leonardo da Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
Oysters open completely when the moon is full, and when the crab sees one, it throws a piece of stone or seaweed into it, and the oyster cannot close again, so that it serves the crab for meat. Such is the fate of him who opens his mouth too much, and thereby puts himself at the mercy of the listener. So, this is like a double-edged sword, though, because you talk too much, you open yourself up, you give too much information to others to use against you. Like, Coriolanus did by
Mm,
speaking arrogantly of his goals, thinking that he was already voted in before he was, uh, in saying so. Actually, I mean, you can think these things, but to come out and say these things, you're almost always going to get opposition. You know,
exactly.
you don't come out and tell the people how they're going to vote. Like, you ask them for their vote. It goes a little bit better. But he was a braggart, and he tried to use that, the style that works in the battlefield. And this is the danger of this law, because it is, in the struggle for power, they often portray it as a war, you know, as a one-upmanship, stating that it's a dog-eat-dog world and you've got to be the tough one. You've got to be always on your game. You have to be in total control at all times to get ahead. Kind of war-like rules in guidance. And yet that doesn't necessarily work if when he tried to transfer that to politics, where often politics is a game of words. I mean, how many politicians do you know, Rekkr, that are quiet, that don't give speeches or prolificate, obfuscate, and, orate on a regular basis?
Uh, that's a good question, actually.
There are none. Okay, because to be political, to be a politician, you need to get your ideas to the people, and that involves speeches, in statements, in orating on a regular basis. Yeah.
That it does.
So, so, you know, that's my thing with this law, like, because talk has a purpose, at times. What in Robert Greene's assumption here, and I do say Robert Greene, I've said this to you before, you make a lot of assumptions here. These are generalizations focused only on
Very.
getting power in a business situation, because this does not work all the time. This is not going to work. It is definitely tools that we should be aware of and that can work in certain situations very successfully. I don't doubt it. It is true that if somebody is very quiet, we get curious. If someone
Mm-hmm.
is not speaking, I mean, even on a personal level, right? Like if someone's really quiet, you're like, why? Well, for me, the
Yes.
why has a lot of different answers. It could be they aren't interested, we're boring them, they've got nothing to contribute, or, they don't care, or they're just dumb. Like, it could be any of those things. Not that they're mysterious and they have the answer to everything, they're just not sharing it. I can assure you, like, maybe I'm a doubtful person, but that's the last thing I think if someone's not contributing to the conversation. The last thing I think is that they have the answer to everything. I don't know. I don't know. But that's just me. I'm sure everybody's different. What about you? If someone you're having
Um.
a group conversation and there's a person just sitting there quiet all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can think. I do think sometimes that, like, why are they being so quiet? Um. But yeah, sometimes it's like I often won't say anything if I don't know what to say, or if I feel like I can't really add to a conversation as much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it absolutely can raise make you raise your eyebrow and think, while especially if it's an important conversation, like,
Mm-hmm.
why aren't you like interjecting or saying anything? It's
Right.
this is meant to
Especially,
be a
it can
uh,
be unnerving if it's one on one,
mm,
right? I mean, it's bad enough
oh,
if you're in a
absolutely.
group setting and you kind of notice the person sticking out. But I will say, Robert Greene does have a point that in human nature, it will make us curious and add some mystery to that person. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's like a one trick pony. It only works once or twice, right? Like, If that
Yep.
behavior is consistent, well, you're kind of or bringing forward the opportunity for those around you to make assumptions about your contributions, to make assumptions about where you're coming from. And to me, when people are allowed to make assumptions and aren't clear about where you stand on things, you lose power.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's just my personal take on it. Like, if people are going to judge me for how I think about something or what I where I stand about something, I want it to actually be what I think or stand on a situation. I want it to actually be something I said or contributed, you know,
Mm.
and not just an assumption that they make, you know, or let them, it can be powerful to let them fill in the gaps because maybe it'll be favorable, but it could be just as easily detrimental and unfavorable to allow them to fill in the gaps. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean,
Absolutely.
in business, I do think he has a point with the less is more. You don't want
Mm.
to have trivial conversations. You need to have, pretty direct. People are busy. They don't like their time wasted. However, you also have to make you to get anywhere. They have to know where you stand on things, and you could keep everything quiet so people don't know where you're going, so they can't like sabotage your project or your goal in any way. Sometimes people will do that. The more information you put out, they either will take your idea, move forward with your idea, get in the way of your idea, take credit for your idea. I've had that happen in business. But always being, I've always been pretty clear about where I stand on kind of things. You don't just let people make assumptions, about things, especially like, how you're going to move forward with the project, you know. I guess it depends on what stage of something you're in business for this to be successful. I mean, if you're trying to get somebody to invest in you, like you've got a product to sell, Rekkr, right? Like Rekkr,
Oh,
you've
absolutely.
you've just bottled the best caffeinated energy drink that tastes like coffee cola in the whole world. Okay,
Hell
and you're
yeah.
trying, and you're, yeah, yeah, and you're trying to get me to invest in it, right?
Yep.
Do words matter?
Yes.
Do you need a lot of them?
Probably, yeah. I
Yeah, you need
mean,
more. You need more than silence. I'll tell you that. Just like,
the
do you
the
do you want me to assume what your product is like? Do you want me to
well,
assume how you'll be marketing it or what my profits will be?
considering I know what product you're talking about, I think if I just came out with like, "Hey, would you like this
Oh, to me,
specific
yes.
product?" you, I would get a few side eyes. Well, a few is an understatement.
Mm,
Would you like me to? Would you like me to tell everyone what the product is with no context?
sure.
So, in New Zealand, we have a drink called V, and it's an energy drink, and there's a big black V that you can
Yeah,
buy that tastes really good.
it is, and it's Coke and coffee together. It's like the best. It's like the best of both my worlds. Did I like get my
It's
caffeine from?
very nice.
It's very nice. Yeah. But that's why I use this for an example because I figured you know. But like, you wouldn't want me
Mm-hmm.
to assume how you're going to market it, right? You want me to make all these assumptions on my end. Like, no, you should be presenting all this to me and telling me all this about it and giving me the information I need to choose you, to choose your product, right? So like,
Exactly.
so there's like two sides of it. Absolutely. So let's get on into the observation. Eh, shall I? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless anybody has a question, which, of course, if anyone does, you have something to say you want us to know, or you have a question you want answered, just at either one of us in the chat, please. On
Mm-hmm.
on either in Kick and Twitch and uh or YouTube. And mods, if we miss it, call our attention. You know how to do it. You can
Wait,
get us. Yeah.
V was sold in Atlanta for a little while.
Oh, then
Mouse.
Mousy must know about it. Then it
That's
was
kind of
Mousy.
cool.
Mousy, did you ever have it? Because it's really, really good. It did not go well. Wow, did you ever try it? Cause man, that stuff. I would imagine it's. I want to get me some. It's like the best of both worlds, like Coke and coffee. Yeah. Anyway, so for those of you following along, we're going to go to the observation of the law, and this is actually when it works well. Obviously, Coriolanus didn't get this law down, and it didn't go very well for him. But the next example will give us an idea of when it goes right. So, in observations of the law, in the court of Louis XIV, nobles and ministers would spend days and nights debating issues of state. They would confer, argue, make and break alliances, and argue again until finally the critical moment arrived. Two of them would be chosen to represent the different sides to Louis himself, who would decide what should be done. And these persons were chosen. Everyone would argue some more. How should the issues be phrased? What would appeal to Louis? What would annoy him? At what time of day should the representatives approach him? And in what part of Versailles' palace? What expression should they have on their faces? Finally, after all this was settled, the fateful moment would finally arrive. The two men would approach Louis, always a delicate matter. And when they finally had his ear, they would talk about the issue at hand, spelling out the options in detail. Louis would listen in silence, a most enigmatic look on his face. Finally, when each had finished his presentation and had asked for the king's opinion, he would look at them both and say, I shall see. Then he would walk away. The ministers and courtiers would never hear another word on this subject from the king. They would simply see the result weeks later when he would come to a decision and act. He would never bother to consult them on the matter again. Louis XIV was a man of very few words. His most famous remark is something French like L'état, c'est moi, which is I am the state, and I probably mispronounced that, forgive me. But it does translate to I am the state. And nothing could be more pithy, yet more eloquent. His famous I shall see was one of several extremely short phrases that he would apply to all manner of requests. Louis was not always this way. As a young man, he was known for talking at length, delighting in his own eloquence. His later taciturnity was self imposed, an act, a mask he used to keep everybody below him off balance. No one knew exactly where he stood or could predict his reactions. No one could try to deceive him by saying what they thought he wanted to hear, because no one knew what he wanted to hear. As he talked on and on to the silent Louis, they revealed more and more about themselves, information he would later use against them to great effect. In the end, Louis's silence kept those around him terrified and under his thumb. It was one of the foundations of his power. As Saint Simon wrote, no one knew as well as he how to sell his words, his smile, even his glances. Everything in him was valuable because he created differences, and his majesty was enhanced by the sparseness of his words. So that's some example. I always think of Louis the XIV as so extravagant and flamboyant, but I forget as a politician and a king how quiet and how reserved he was. Oh, would you like to read the quote?
You, okay, I can do that. The quote.
It's on the slide.
It, yep. Historical example. Corello and
No, no,
its.
no,
Oh wait,
no.
no, that's
The
wrong.
quote at the bottom. Like, just the quote.
It's
Yeah.
yep. It's even more damaging for a minister to say foolish things than to do them.
Now, this is
Uh,
true.
Cardinal de Res, 1613 to 1679.
Hmm. What do you think about Louis the XIV's example?
I think he actually utilized silence very well, strategically well,
Mm,
considering he being a person in power, he couldn't really afford to slip up in any way,
mm-hmm,
especially being a ruler. Um, if if you were going to, even if you were very eloquent, saying saying too much or saying something that might get unfortunately misinterpreted could make you look weak,
mm-hmm.
even if it was unintentional or even if it was meant with all, even if it what you assumed you were saying had uh, one meaning to you could might have been accidentally misinterpreted by the people around you.
No, I do. And it showed his power just also that you could present your ideas, but then after you did, he didn't need any input from you. Like that's it. He was gonna make his decision. It was all up to him. He felt no need
Mm,
to confer with anybody else. That was a that is a very strong power move. That is done in business a lot. Like when you go and like say at a job, your employer and you have an idea or something that you need to inform them about, you go and you tell them. They very rarely get into a big conversation with you about it, do they? No.
exactly.
They ask you some key questions if they need the information, and then they don't tell you what they're going to do they? They usually just you leave the room and then they do whatever they're going to do.
Yep.
And you find out about it when everybody else finds out about it, unless they need you to implement it, then it's different, you know but
Yes.
so that move gets used a lot. Like I have to say, Louis
It
definitely used it much better than Coriolis.
yes. It would be a
Yeah.
terrible saying less. One of the situations in business where you probably wouldn't want to say less is when you're speaking to an engineer.
Oh, you got to be
Because
very specific, though. Like
yes.
you want to be very
You
specific. Well, that's the balance. That's a perfect example
mm,
in Rekkr, because you need to say
mhm.
just enough. You don't want to say too little because you have to get the key information all the
Yeah.
information. Leave no doubt about what is needed, okay, and the
It
elements that are needed to accomplish it, right? And,
yes.
and yet you don't want to give them anything that'll skirt them off in the wrong direction by accident.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you got to be careful. So that would fall into the choose your words wisely category, right? Say
Yes,
just enough.
cuz
Yeah.
if you can ask someone to hang a picture on the wall, but not that they'd be dumb enough to do it, but I mean, if they shoved a meat hook through the entire thing, they're
Mhm.
still hanging it, aren't they?
When you ask someone to put a picture on the wall, there's the where, the how, you know, like yeah,
Exactly.
it's just too open ended. Go put the picture on the wall. That's really not enough information. You know there's a wall, and you know that there's a picture. You want the picture on the wall. Well, where on the wall? At what height? What level? How
Mhm.
do you want it affixed? There's so many different ways. You can use poster putty. You can use the frame hanging mechanisms with the wire and the screws in a little tiny nail, or you can use a bigger nail. Like,
You
or
could pull the picture out of the frame if it's in a frame, and then glue tack it to the wall.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think
But
I'd
yeah,
leave all those variables to you.
yeah, because I would use a meat hook and just be like, I put the picture up.
You'll be like, I'm not going to the hardware store today. What do we got in the kitchen? Let me go see.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Pin it up with a few knives. It'll be good.
It'll be good. Would you like to read this slide? And I'll read the
Yes.
next.
Key points. Strategic benefits. Uh, prevents foolish mistakes. Less talking means fewer opportunities to reveal weaknesses or say something regrettable. Yep. Create uh, intimidation. Silence makes others uncomfortable and defensive.
Mm,
Builds mystery. Vague, sphinx like communication makes you appear more profound. Gain information. When you speak less, others fill the silence and reveal their motivations. Projects control. Brevity suggests confidence and self control.
mm-hmm,
And another really good, actually a really good example of saying less to say more is in music.
mm-hmm,
Like, how many songs do you know where someone is describing something like to the level of like a Stephen King novel or I can't I've been trying to remember this really descriptive author that I can't remember. I think there are I wish I could remember their name.
hmm,
Um but they would describe like the most average scenario in painful detail,
uh-huh,
and you don't hear that in music, but you still get a very clear picture of what is being communicated,
mm-hmm. Well,
and
I go ahead.
and that's one of the situations where yeah, less tends to be better than more.
It reminds me of something that we were listening to last night in regards to some tips that Thelonious Monks gave to a younger uh, apprentice type, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was about the pause, about allowing the
Mm-hmm.
silence in between notes. And then they showed the short thing to Lisa from The Simpsons, who said to a man listening to the opera, "You have to listen to the notes that aren't being played."
Mm.
And that reminded me of this chapter about allowing the silences in between the statements, saying just enough, but allowing those silences for them to be absorbed, for you to listen to what they're saying back, to gather information, you know. So I thought it correlated pretty well because you're right. With music, you
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times it's just enough, and it sparks your imagination, and you carry it forward, like you bring it forward, like it allows you to add to it, right?
Exactly.
Hmm. Is that you?
Yes.
So, so for the practical applications of the chapter four's law about not speaking a lot, uh, you got to listen more than you speak, and this allows information gathering while revealing little about yourself. Use strategic pauses. Well timed silence before responding makes your words seem more significant. I do agree with that one. It makes you look as if you're actually thinking about what you're saying. And people will listen more carefully if they think that you have thought about what you're conveying, that you've actually put
Mm-hmm.
some thought into. Embrace ambiguity. Vague statements can be more powerful than clear ones as they allow multiple interpretations. Yes, but I find that to be very dangerous, actually. Make words count, avoid unnecessary chatter, and speak only when it serves purpose. control the narrative, force others to do more talking while you observe and assist. Well, that's if you're on a fact finding mission, yes. Yeah. Well, that doesn't work if you're trying to convince people of something, right? If you're trying to
No,
get
it
people
doesn't.
to get on board with a project at all. But see, that's the whole thing. This is so you've got to bend these rules to the situation. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
mold them to the situation that you see. They don't fit perfectly to every situation. Matter of fact, they just don't, right? They just don't. You can't just take this rule and put it in any situation and it'll be just fine. It won't.
No,
It just won't. Yeah.
this is very much catered more towards business situations.
Hmm.
Like a lot of this book, it is more catered towards business business
Hmm.
type
And,
power
and
moves.
yeah, but power is necessary in all situations, like the
Mm-hmm.
exchange of power back and forth, authority positions, even in our personal relationships, back and forth. Someone has more power or less at any given time in any of our relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and it's about not giving away your power to anyone. Um,
Yep.
it's about how, unfortunately, our world is set up to remove our power on a regular basis. There's many situations in many uh, types of people and personalities that thrive on that. They only feel they are
Exactly.
successful in this world unless they are stripping the power away from others. So it's a fine balance, if you're going to move in this world as a humanitarian. These rules have to be uh, analyzed and looked at so that you're aware of them and aware of when other people are using them on you to prevent yourself from being manipulated without knowing. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we're manipulated and it's fine. Like you know what somebody's doing, but it's okay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other times it's not. It depends on the intent. It depends on the goal, and it depends on where you're coming from at the time too, in whatever situation it is. But being aware of how people use these in the human nature behind them, how commonplace this is very important, especially in protecting ourselves into not taking on more of the blame in situations than is actually our responsibility. If
Exactly.
you're recognizing how people are moving around you, then you can by seeing it and recognizing it, you become a little less of a victim of it and more of a willing participant when necessary, or an actual objector of it in removing yourself from the situation. Well, that's how you protect your own power from it, which is one of the reasons we wanted to do this. Um, as I see people taking this stuff way too seriously sometimes. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yours the next slide.
Okay. Key points. Psychological mechanisms. People project meaning. When you say little, others attribute their own interpretations to your silence. Discomfort drives revelation. Uncomfortable silences makes people reveal information to fill the void. Scarcity increases value. Just as a rare object are more valuable, rare words carry more weight. And mystery breeds respect. What people don't understand, they often fear or admire. And these all hold true. Um,
They do in in particular situations.
you can, uh, you could actually, for instance, um, people will often create meaning out of abstract art. Like, for instance, you could take Jackson Pollock number 5.
Hmm.
Um, it is literally a painting that has splatter all over it. It is splatter. Jackson Pollock literally threw paint at a canvas, and he sold it for millions. and I'm a
Hmm.
little bitter about that.
I know, but
I
the
will admit.
brilliance of it is he never tried to explain what any of it was. If you asked him what it meant, you never got an answer out of him about that. The same thing they use in the book, the example of Andy Warhol when he did interviews about his own art, the
Mm-hmm.
suit can, all this other. People are like trying to get to the bigger meaning. What does he? What was he trying to express? What does it really mean? And he would just talk about something else. He never answered the questions, which sparked
Mm-hmm.
everybody talking about his art and probably made him more popular than he deserved to be. Same thing with Pollock. I mean, after all, he just threw paint at a
Yep.
screen.
Exit through
And
the
you are
brush.
bitter, and I understand why you're bitter, especially if you're an artist. Okay, it's kind of like the man who put poop in a can and made
Yep.
millions. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
or the Twitch person who is selling fart in glass jars. I mean, come on,
Mm-hmm.
like we actually resent that this is actually popular, but it's the mystery of it. It works. Obviously, it works. People are buying this stuff. Like I don't know. Uh,
Exactly.
I, because what does it mean? I mean, please tell me what it means to capture a fart in a glass jar and sell it for $30,000. Like, what? What?
Mm-hmm.
Or, but art is what people interpret it to be. So it's actually genius not to talk about it because it actually matters more what the individual thinks of it, not the artist, because the
Yes.
value of it comes from the individual that's going to pay for it, right? Like
Yep.
the value of art is only what we are going to pay for it. It could be the most beautiful piece in the world, but if people just walk by it because they go, wow, that it could have the most detailed, realistic technique, something very innovative that's never been done again. But if people just walk by it and go, wow, that's a lake, pretty. It doesn't mean anything. So it doesn't matter if the artist gets up there and tells us, about all the stuff that they did. It's really what the people think about it. If they don't add some value to it with their own interpretation, they're not going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I
And
will
and
say, if you can imply a deep story about the painting, then that is also just as good. But it's not often. It doesn't work as well
mhm.
as often.
Well, so we can also relate realistically like this to a lot of the famous people, that we hear about in the news or art and music and all, like our favorite musicians. And they don't do interviews. They don't allow
Mm-hmm.
personal stories to be. They don't have a PR person who's out there promoting them or anything. That breeds great mystery to where you like every time you do see something about them, you want to know. You want to know immediately, you know.
The difference
Um,
between, for instance, Kendrick or Drake.
don't give me. Why do you do this to me? No, don't get me started on that.
Drake's Secret's Child versus Kendrick. You know,
Yeah,
no one knows.
no one knows. No one knows. Yeah, no. Listen, there's like that's just a crazy situation between the two of them. They're so different, and yet they're playing the same game. I just can't with them. So let's talk about the warning signs of violation of the law of the 48th
Mm-hmm.
law, chapter 4, which is, about, silence is better. Less is more, so to speak, when it comes to talking. Over explaining, excessive justification makes you appear insecure or makes you appear like a bad salesman, right? Nervous chatter, talking to fill silence shows anxiety and weakness. Revealing too much, sharing unnecessary information gives others ammunition against you. And losing focus, rambling makes you appear calm and uncontrolled, as if you're not on task or in control of the situation, or, you forgot what you're selling. You forgot the idea that you're trying to promote, you know. Well, these are all true. In speaking too much, you would be guilty of all of these. You got great risk for all of these happening, you know. Well, for me, the warning signs of the law are also under explaining. not being clear about your direction or what you want as the outcome of the conversations that you're having, um, not talking enough, too many silences allows others to make assumptions about where you're coming from and can lead projects and decisions in a direction you didn't intend.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the revealing too much is good. You don't want to give others things to use against you, but you do have to give them enough to believe in you, especially if you're the leader of this project or hope to be the leader of this project. If you are the one setting it forward, if you're someone they have to look up to, they need to know enough to believe in you. They need to know
Exactly.
enough to know what direction you're going in and to have the confidence to back you and want to support you. So it's like a double edged sword, you know? And I'd say this coming from business where I had to manage a lot of people and I had to sell a lot of ideas in projects. It's a double edged sword. You got to balance it, you know, just enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky. It's very, very tricky. And well, nobody likes when you lose focus and you ramble and you just don't know when to end the slide, like me right now, going to the next one. So,
Risk management keys. Avoid irreversible mistakes. Once words are spoken, you cannot take them back. Being particularly careful with sarcasm and emotional responses prevents costly verbal blunders that can damage your position. Prevent vulnerability through restraint. The more you say, the more likely you are to reveal weaknesses. Say something foolish or provide ammunition that others can use against you.
mhm. Yep, it's true. You can't take back the words once they're done.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Real life
this
can't be edited post.
this is true. Like, unless you've got a YouTube video and then you can try to cut it out if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who heard it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't go away. No, no, I agree. And I make light of it, but it is actually, an art. Communication in itself, to be a very good communicator, is a fine art. It is something you have to, if you want to be in business, if you're going to move forward with projects, any kind of organization in or a strictly organized situation, any kind of group with a common goal, even if it's like a nonprofit foundation, it's volunteerism, you head the Girl Scouts, you're a PTA mom, you go in and head the class or whatever, or anything you do for your own employment or your job, you're dealing with mass people, including your social circles on the internet and everywhere else in your real life. The communicating adequately, sufficiently is something you really do have to concentrate on. How many times do we put our foot in our mouth? How many times do we inadvertently hurt somebody's feelings by saying the wrong thing and not listening well enough to something they said before and we inadvertently like insult them in some way? Um, Listening and communicating in those situations is key to success in our personal
Exactly.
relationships. So that's why this law to me is a little jarring because it eliminates all the other parts that you should be doing too. you know what I mean? You know, it's just like as if you could stand there and be stoic and silent and make and get ahead is not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that bothers me about it. But I will admit that these advanced power techniques, like master ambiguity as a tool, when you do speak, be deliberately vague and open ended, leave things open to interpretation so people cannot pin you down to specific positions that might later constrain you. Yeah, if you're a politician,
Mm-hmm.
but not if you've got a common goal you're trying to achieve. That would never work. Like, I mean, you let's go back to the V drink. You're trying to get me to, um, you know, uh, invest in your company because you need distribution money, right? You need to get that product out. You need to be able to
Yep.
hire a distributor, and you don't have the money, and you want me to invest in it. Okay, is it going to do you any good to be to not tell me how you plan to do that? To leave it up to my interpretation on how you're going to do it? Sounds like I would be complaining later about how you're investing my money if I assume you're going to be, distributing to all of the United States and Canada, and you actually get a distributor in India and decide to go to the Asian countries with the product. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you
You kind of
it's
have
not.
to be a little bit more transparent in some circumstances.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Create
You can't simply
information.
say, "I'm going to be selling this drink everywhere you can think of," and
Right.
actually just mean I'm going to be selling it everywhere you can think of that's outside of America.
Yeah. And then I changed my mind because like I just call you back and go, oh, by the way, I saw there's no distribution in Algeria, so like I want my money back. Yes.
Damn it! I knew I should have done Algeria.
See, like, because you had said, right? I'm going to
Mm,
distribute everywhere. So just be careful with your words. Like, limit your words to be careful to the stuff that you can back out. But sometimes people do need to know the direction you're going in and where you stand. Actually, I find it much more comfortable dealing with people when I do know that
mm-hmm.
in all aspects, actually. Um, the second one was create information asymmetry. Listen more than you speak to gather intelligence while revealing minimal information about yourself. This creates a significant strategic advantage in negotiations and relationships. Maybe in business, they don't need to know about your personal life and all of that other stuff. They do need to know where you're getting your information from, what kind of experience you have. I do agree with that. But when it comes to relationships, no, you don't go out on a first date and sit there and not talk.
That explains why. Okay. I wish
Yeah.
someone told
This
me that
why,
when I was younger.
yeah, you'd have a lot more second dates, wouldn't you, Rekkr? Yeah.
Why, you're just sitting there playing the silent type, breathing heavily, staring at them.
Yeah, because being a goon, that always works. Yeah. Mhm. No, no.
Being a goon means something entirely different nowadays.
Does it? Okay. It just shows our age difference. Then. Sorry about that. Okay. Uh, I have no idea what it said then because I know what it meant like to me. Okay. Hey, use silence as intimidation. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. Strategic silence creates discomfort in others, making them more compliant and easier to influence. I would say that works when I had to actually deal with employees when there were two sides to a story and I got them both in the room and I need them to talk. I wouldn't say a word. I would ask a question and I would let them both just talk and talk and talk until I found out the truth. And eventually the truth would come out because they just kept spouting, you know? So it was intimidating because they had to explain themselves to a person in authority. So it does work. But it's situational again. Like all of
Hmm.
this. Uh, I don't want my leader to be silent. I mean, I don't know. I can't think of any presidents where I didn't listen to their key words, like what they were saying. I can't remember a situation in working where I had an employer, a boss that I looked up to that was just completely silent, like I didn't know their opinion about things. Um, I always worked better when I was confident about who I was working for and what it stood for. But maybe I'm just weird. I don't know. It's how I move in the world. So that one gives me a little trouble.
Hmm.
You know, I guess if you're trying to entice someone, create a mystery, and you're not trying to get them to give you 100% support or back you on a common goal, then this works, you know. But if you're trying to build a team and you're trying to lead a project to success, I don't think much of that works.
Nope.
Yeah, so that was my problem, because building a team and dealing with a team is the most common business situation that we deal with anymore, at least the average person. We're not CEOs of big companies. Anybody in the chat, are you a CEO of a big company? Because I'm not talking about you here. This all works for you. If you're at the top, you're one of the 10%, you're up there. This all works for you. But for the average person, this doesn't work, does it? Because we're
No.
usually in situations of team building, in a common goal situation where we're all working together to get somewhere, right? And to accomplish something. And for that, you need to know what the goal is. You need to know what the objective is. You need to know the opinion of the person who's leading you, that feels how you can get there in the information. You know, it just doesn't work. Yeah.
Exactly.
These keys work synergistically to create an aura of competence and mystery and control that naturally attracts power and respect, while protecting you from the common pitfalls of excessive communication. Well, it's true. I mean, you don't want to overtake a meeting, right? Or
Yes.
I,
Or accidentally overtalk your boss.
yeah, or finish your boss's sentences,
Yep.
or yeah, or come in there and talk about where you had dinner last night when they're trying to decide who's getting fired next week.
So it's George, right? Yeah, yeah. So anyone else have creme brulee last night? It was an amazing dessert.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like, yeah, no, no. You see what I mean? It's just it's so subjective. Like, yeah, it really is. Do you work with the 10%, Lucky? I admire you, then. It must be difficult. It must be difficult to work with the 10% if you're not part of the 10%, because it's like a whole different world, right? I think they don't relate well to how we all see the world or move in the world. Although we all admire them,
mm-hmm.
like, and don't we all strive to have that lifestyle, but it is totally different. Um,
The, it makes me think of how how out of touch they can be when you hear some people saying, "If you're homeless, just buy a house."
yeah, okay, that's an out of touch. That's a person who needs this law not to speak so much, because that's totally out of touch statement. If you're homeless, I can fix that
Just
for you. Buy a house. It's
yeah, just
simple.
buy a
Yes,
house. Yeah,
rent
just
an
I don't know why
apartment.
you didn't think of it.
Yes, and you know what Lucky says, in the 10%, they don't relate well, and they're very reserved and quiet, and smartly so, because they don't relate well. So in that case, I agree with the law that they should remain a mystery, because we, like Coriolanus, we don't want to know how they look down to us and they can't relate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they'll get voted out, or disrespected, or you're not going to work as hard for them. So in that case, I would say it's 100% successful for them to use the law. It's a perfect example, Lucky, and thank you for contributing, because you're showing how it does work, but in a very limited aspect to all of us, the majority. It doesn't work as well unless you're in a business situation. But for the 10%, it works extremely well. It works
I
extremely well.
actually just
Yeah.
thought of a very good example of someone who opened their mouth a bit too much, um, but was thought very highly of before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Oh, he
Remember
had.
when he first happened? Everyone was like, "Man, he's this altruistic guy who does all this crazy stuff, and he's
Mm-hmm.
and so like revolutionary and stuff." And then he started talking and we
Hmm.
all realized that he was mainly just an ideas guy.
He was an ideas guy, and some of those ideas were a little crazy. And also that he wasn't like where he was getting his information from, like especially with the latest thing with politics and all. I would find that I would have resources, more accurate resources to what he was trying to accomplish than what he was speaking on, and it was become very frustrating to me, very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you don't go monkeying around with a system unless you know it A to Z. You can't fix something unless you know how it actually is supposed to work or was designed to work. You know what I mean? Like you got to, and then investigate what's going wrong with it, and then you fix it. You you can't go in there blind and just say, "Oh, what about this?" Like you
But
just
he's
don't.
a
You just
millionaire. He clearly
yeah.
knows what he's doing.
No, no, no. Other people made all that money for him. Like
Sorry, the
I don't think money equates to intelligence. I really don't.
well, I
Money equates to
I think
success. I will grant them that. But does it equate to intelligence or common sense?
I,
Rarely.
I I think I think liquid money does equate to intelligence. The liquid money you can actually make is like if you have plenty of liquid money, then I'd say you're probably pretty intelligent. Most of these people that have lots of money are probably about twice as much in debt.
I would I would agree and I would disagree. I'm sure there are plenty of jobless people right now who are very intelligent. And
Of
I can
course,
tell you,
of
half
course,
of the
there's
people that qualify for Mensa do not work. They find like the more intelligent you are, the less you feel you should be constrained
yeah,
by those around you. So it's a hit or take. I don't know if it's necessarily liquid money I really don't think the amount of money you make has anything to do with intelligence. I really don't. I think it has more to do with the drive to make money.
yes,
Because I agree with Lucky here. This is one of the pivotal downfalls to making a lot of money when you're intelligent. You don't want to work for anybody else.
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lucky. Yes, this is what I was getting at because like I made less money working for myself, but I was damn happier. I'll tell you that. I didn't I liquid money. I'm not a millionaire, right, Rekkr? But I'm not dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But I was happy when I worked for myself. Okay. Not that I'm trying to tote my own horn. I'm just using it as an example, you know. And yes, Lucky, I agree. Elon Musk getting involved with politics was the mistake of his life. Yes. Because it's never going to go away
Yeah.
now. It's never going to go away. It's marked him like greatly. Well,
See, it was okay when he was sort of more on the left because it was somewhat rational, and it was
mm-hmm,
perfectly fine when he was more of a centrist because at least then you could deal with both sides of like
mm-hmm.
slightly more conservative ideas, slightly more liberal ideas.
Well,
He just went and did a. He was practicing for the long jump when he went to the right, and
mm-hmm.
he broke the world record in that distance because he went over the line like I don't know what.
Well, he did. Like he went over to that side thinking that okay, like I like a lot of these ideas, but I can keep it from getting too crazy. And then he tried to put some like normal things out there, and he got slapped back. Like, what do you mean? No, we're gonna no, we don't have to make sense. Like, you know, he got slapped back pretty hard, and there were disagreements. You know, I agree
Mm-hmm.
with this so much, Mrs. Cassandra, because this is kind of like my point with Elon getting into politics. Is like she says that she hates it when someone who isn't dealing with customers because she's in customer relations, they're telling you what to do with the customers and how to treat those customers. And she's like, yeah, let you try that, Mr. or Mrs. Big Boss. Like, let's see how far you get like with these people. But I get it. When somebody like Elon Musk takes on politics and says he's going to represent the little man. And I'm like, you have no idea what it's like to be the little man. And you proved it by going in there and messing with Social Security and messing with this and messing with that and just trying to dismantle things that you didn't know how they operated or why they were put in place before you did anything. And that really does not speak to me of understanding the plight of the average person at all. You know, it's
No.
like it's almost like he took it on just to have a notch in his belt. Like, oh, this is something new. I'll do this. Yeah. Because he's not making any money, and he really ruined his reputation. It was very risky. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think he'll stay in politics?
Well, apparently, didn't he say that he wanted to create a third party?
He did, but then recently he did. And that was like, that shook things up a little bit because everybody speaks about a third party. I'm more for no party, actually, than a third party, to tell you the truth. I think voting on issues is more important than what a group of people think, because
Yep.
then it would be more what the people want. And that's what it's supposed to be. But I mean, I get it's
Mm-hmm.
very technical. I mean, we have one of the most complicated systems in America for all of this. And it's the two parties. We do have other parties, but they don't really have enough numbers to contribute in any way, really, to the conversations that are had about the problems we're trying to address. But when Elon said that he was going to start that extra party, but now he's saying, no, I don't think that that's a solution. It's only going to take votes away. And it's true. If you start a third party, it's only going to split either the Republican, well, in this case, because Elon would be starting it, it would split the Republican vote, which would automatically make it better for the Democrats. Like it would be
Mm.
self defeating, so to speak.
Yeah,
So he
exactly.
decided that. So he decided to say out there before the first year of Trump's presidency is over that he'll back Vance next year. Wait, it gets better. Not only does he put that out there within the first year of this president's term, Vance then made a statement immediately. Said, "No, don't do that." He said, "No, like I'm not. No, don't do that." Like it's just it's not necessary. Like pretty much putting the kibosh on it. Like please don't back me. I don't need that. Just like go away, kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, it was definitely a diss, and that's what I mean by him getting into politics isn't going to go away. It's really going to be bad for his reputation. you know. Well, let me bring up the last one. You want to read this one? Because we're just
Yes,
about
I can
ready.
read this one.
Thank you.
Reversal. There are times when it is unwise to be silent. Silence can arouse suspicion and even insecurity, especially when your supervisors, superiors, especially in your superiors. A vague or ambiguous comment can open you up to interpretations you had not uh, bargained for. Silence and saying less than necessary must be practiced with caution, and in the right situations, it is occasionally wiser to imitate the court jester, who plays the fool but knows he is smarter than the king. He talks and talks and entertains, and no one suspects that he is more than just a fool. Also, words can sometimes act as a kind of smokescreen for any deception you might practice. By bending your listener's ear with talk, you can distract and mesmerize them. The more you talk, in fact, the less suspicious of you they become. The verbose are not perceived as sly and manipulative, but
Mm-hmm.
as helpless and unsophisticated. This is the reverse of the silent policy employed by the powerful. By talking more and making yourself appear weaker and less intelligent than your mark, you can practice deception with greater ease. That you can.
There, very much. Well, that would conclude our analysis anyway, or review of the 48 laws. Was challenging for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I'm such a talker. Everybody knows I'm a chatterbox. That's all I do. I'm a bear with a woman named Bear with a mic. All I do
Mm-hmm.
is I talk about any subject anybody wants. So, but I do think this chapter has some key points that we could use, especially the ones in regards to being careful about what we say, the ones in regards to thinking about our thoughts before we put them out there. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. So, next, the next chapter. What is the next chapter there?
The next chapter that we have is chapter 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life.
Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this one. So, on that,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're about ready to wrap up. What do you think?
I think so too, yeah.
Okay. So if there's not any other questions, I thank you all for being here, and thank you everyone who listens later in the replay crew. Don't forget to like, and I would appreciate your comments on the back of especially the YouTube video, because it
Yes.
does help the algorithm and keeps us out there to keep us doing this. Um, it's if you like the conversations, help us by just liking, sharing, and commenting. All of these
Mm-hmm.
things are free to do. It takes a few seconds, and it really means a lot to us. It does. But otherwise, so what would you like to say to wrap it up, Rekkr?
Um, if you've got cool battle scars, apparently showing them will make people admire you more. Just don't open your mouth.
From Corleone, from the books of Corleanus,
Yes.
from the tales of the Corleanus, battle
Mm-hmm.
scarred, battle scarred general who just really didn't cut it in politics. Kind of like Elon Musk, you know. If you have a
Mm.
rocket ship, in a great pace system, stick with that. You don't need
Exactly.
politics. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that was fun. We'll see you all next week. And for those of you that follow me for other things, we'll be back with some true crime content starting on Tuesday. All right. Have a good night, everybody. You ready?
Yep. See you later.